Hi everybody, I'm Tiffany with Quilters, and I am going to do a brief tutorial on how to put together the block that we made for our Indiana Quilters Trail Shop Hop Quilt Happy Trails. In the kit, if you did purchase our block kit, you would have received three 2.5-inch strips of three different colors to make 4 patches, and you would have received a width of fabric of our purple for our spikes and a blue Marbella print to make our center triangles. So this is our block. Behind me, I've kind of done some little bits of piecing right now to show you. You're going to be cutting each of these strips into 2.5-inch squares. You'll need a total of 6 pink squares, 2.5-inch squares. You'll need 6 2.5-inch purple squares, and you'll need 8 2.5-inch tone-on-tone white squares. You will then sew these squares together to make 2 patches, a light and a dark, and then you will put these together. You will iron these to the dark side, so all of your 2 patches that you put together, iron the back up so that when you put them together to sew, they will nest perfectly. So you will align those pieces together. I'll just show you. See how they line up perfectly, and they will nest right there. You take it to the sewing machine and you sew your 1/4 inch. Then when you open it, you will get a perfect 4 patch, and you can see how the back is after you sew it. So the 2.5-inch squares sewn together to make these crisscross designs. 4 of the squares will have the pink and white and purple and white, and then the center square will have the pink and purple. So that method will be used to make all of your 4 patch blocks. This finished block finishes 12.5 inches. So each of these sections will finish 4 inches. And so the next part of our block has this peaky spike block that will finish 4.5, but as you sew them together, it'll finish 4. So, and I'll go into detail on that. Included in your kit, we put a template in there. This is the triangle template that you will use to cut out your blue, light blue section from your strip here. So you will line it up here. I'm going to, in just a few minutes, readjust my camera and do a down shot of my cutting board so that I can show you how to cut and sew these peaky spike blocks. But I wanted to also show you, we put the templates in there so that you wouldn't have to buy a ruler to make this block. But Creative Grids makes a wonderful ruler. It's called 2 Peaks in 1, and this ruler makes it so easy to make these blocks. So when I readjust the camera, I'm going to show you both methods and how easy it is to make these blocks. And then all you'll have to do is sew your components together and the block will be completed. I'm going to show you the process of making this block component of our 12-inch block. I'm gonna first start by using the template, which is this right here. And we cut the strips oversized in the kit. And we did that on purpose because we wanted to give you the ability to cut it down to size so that you would get your peaks and spikes perfect and you wouldn't lose anything in the sewing process. So as you can see, you would just take your template and line it up on your fabric like so, and you cut it like that and set it aside. Whoops. Really? I need a new blade. All right, then you would flip it and continue cutting your triangles using your template. So that is all you need to do to cut your triangles using the template that we have included in your kit. Now let me show you how to use the ruler, the 2 peaks in 1 ruler. This is Creative Grids makes some really good rulers. We do stock all of them, so if you haven't had a chance to use Creative Grids rulers before, come in, pick one up and try them out. This one's a fun one to use. So with this strip, we are going to do the same. We are going to line up this strip with the ruler, and we are going to cut our strip. So that, oh my goodness, I need to get a new blade. Sorry about that. My rotary cutter needs a new blade. So there. Now for the spikes, in the pattern, we have given you a width of fabric, and in the instructions, it says to cut wrong sides together and cut a 5 3/4 by 3 inch rectangle. And in the directions also, it asks that you take a ruler and cut it diagonally in half. And the reason why we want to keep wrong sides together is because we need mirror images to go on either side of your triangle. So following the directions in your kit, we are going to cut this diagonally. And as you see, when we open this up, we have 2 mirror images that we will attach to our triangle that we cut to make our block. Now, the reason why we oversized it was because with this method, there's no notches to show you where to put this triangle in order to make sure that everything is aligned properly. So in your directions, our directions say to lay this down on your triangle and leave a 1/2 inch up at the top before you sew. So I have found the top of my block. There is the 1/2 inch mark. Let's see, I just want to make sure. And I have the tip registered right here. And so I'm going to take this to the sewing machine and start sewing my 1/4 inch all the way down. Then I will open and iron here, and then I will lay my second one with a 1/2 inch above, and you can literally just put it right up on top of that triangle there. Hold it down right there and go back and sew. And I'm going to pause for just a minute, and I'm going to go to the sewing machine and sew these so that I can show you how we're going to trim it to 4.5. Okay, so I am back from the sewing machine, and I have sewn the 2 mirrored images or triangles onto our base triangle. And as you can see how they overlap at the top and then extend down to the bottom. I have, prior to starting the camera, I got my square, because this is how we're going to cut the block down to size to fit our finished block. But so you want to center the ruler. The finished block is going to be 4.5 inches. So half of 4.5 is 2.25. So I am going to line this ruler up, and it's very important. One of the ways a peaky spike block can get ruined is if you don't allow for your 1/4 inch. It's very important that you have a 1/4 inch of your dark fabric at the top, so that when you sew all your blocks together, you're not going to lose your light blue point. And the same goes for down at the bottom. So I have taken my square, and you can see you've got enough that you can cut it down. And I've taken my little hair marker, which is nice to show creases so that you know where you're going to cut. And so I have run the hair marker here and across here to show you the first cut. And we have a 1/4 inch from the top of the inside triangle to the end. So we'll make this first cut. Then we're going to turn it around, and we're going to do the same thing. We're going to mark it at the 2.25 and make sure that we have everything lined up. And we do here. Let's see, that's going to be, there's my line. I see my cut there. And then this is going to be my second cut here. So I have run this here. So I'm just showing you the first cuts, so you can see my line here. That's going to make our block perfectly 4.5 inches. So I always like to run a test first to make sure that it's even. So now that I know that that is correct, I am going to do my full cuts. So I'm going to line it up right there and line it up right there. And then I'm going to do my cut. So that is my first cut. And then I'm going to turn it over and make my second cut. Here is my 2.25, 2.25. We're going to make, whoops, I'm going to make this, there we go, 4.5. So we want to make sure that we are at the 4.5 mark. So if you'll see, I have my ruler marked at 4.5 on the top, 4.5 on the bottom. So I know that this is going to be my cut here. So I have that marked properly. That's 4.5. 1, 2, 3, 4.5. And that is 4.5. And then I'll cut here and then cut across. And now that is our finished cut block to go along with our 4 square or 4 patches. So this is the method that we put in our instructions right here. So if you follow these instructions using the template, this is how you will put this block together. I'm going to show you now how to use the Creative Grids ruler and how much easier it makes it because of the notches. So you take your fabric, we already have our triangle. You can use this part of the Creative Grids ruler to cut your center triangle like I showed you in the previous section. But now for the mirrored sides, you are still going to keep your fabric wrong sides together because you want to get mirror images for your spikes. So you're going to line up your fabric, then you're going to get your ruler and you're going to line up the ruler to the appropriate size, and you are going to cut. And I need to make sure that I've got this cut because I know I've got a dull blade. Yay, it cut. And it's hard to see, but down here there's another little notch, and this little notch is going to help us line up the pieces to our triangle. So always make sure that you cut the notches wherever there is a notch, because this is the key to getting a perfect sew. Now there's another notch that we need to cut. So we have a notch here, but we're going to cut a notch down here. So we are going to flip this, and we are going to line this up, flip it over, and we are going to line this up right here. And there is a line that is on your ruler, and it's called, what do they call it? This is the baseline. So they're calling this is the baseline. So after you cut this, you find the base, you line this up, and then you cut the notch off the edge here. All right, so now we have our notches, we have our mirror images, and now watch how easy it is to line this up. You don't have to even think about where to put it on the triangle. You are literally just going to line up these notches. So that notch fits right up at the very top of your triangle, and this notch fits right on the base of the triangle and leaves the perfect 1/4 inch at the triangle. So I don't know whether you can see that. I'm going to show you that. I'm going to go to the sewing machine, sew that, and then iron it, and then sew the other one, and I'll show you how perfect it is when I come back. Okay, so I just came back from the sewing machine, sewing the block together using the pieces I cut with the Creative Grids ruler, and I just had to do some minimal trimming. So it just makes it super easy. The notches match, you get your 1/4 inch, and it just makes a beautiful block. Okay, so now that we've gone through the steps for making our block, now it is time to finish all of the sewing processes. So when you make all of your 4 patches, you can use a design wall to lay it out so you know you're sewing the right pieces to each other. Just make sure that you follow the design from your pattern. We put in the top corner the layout, and it's just a beautiful block. It is so fun to make. If it's your first time making Peaky Spikes, I encourage you to try them out in different patterns and different arrangements. They really make a fun block. So I hope this video was informative and answered any questions that you have on how to put our block together. We are so thankful that you guys participated in this year's Shop Hop, and we look forward to doing it again with you next year. Feel free to leave any questions down in the comments, and we will do our best to answer those in a timely manner. So thanks so much, and good luck with your sewing projects. Bye.